See the moonlights on the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Tallawah TV is in the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Got a corner on the telephone. Yeah, this is the Ocean of the Messenger, and you're watching Tallawah TV with the host and best. So Davis, take it away.
Whether fans will be allowed into the stadium for the next match, not the US match.
Yeah.
Um,
So the Canada game, ain't it?
yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, it will happen. I haven't been to the stadium in a while, and I literally live a walking distance away from
Lucky
the
for
stadium.
some.
So,
Do you want me to trade you that for the Emirates?
all day, all day.
Right, guys, welcome back to my channel. I have gone and got one of my big hitters, a very close friend of mine. He's a Gooner, of course, but he's also a knowledgeable man when it comes to football, both at club level and also at the international level. And he dons the black, green, and gold just like the rest of us. It is, I like to call him Doc. How are you, Doc?
I'm good. Crystal. How are you?
I am well. I am well. Thank you for blessing me with your time, by the way, because I can tell that, you've just come home from work. You ain't even reached in yet. You're still in the car. So thank you so much for blessing me with your time.
Definitely. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Crystal.
Thank you. Thank you. I have to dive straight into it, Doc, because there is so much going on with our team. Couple days before we kick off with the second stint of our World Cup qualifier against the United States on their home soil. And there's almost like issues, problems flying left, right, and center, isn't there?
Yeah, you've come to expect that with the Jamaican football team, don't it? It's almost something that you sit down and you just know it will happen, So there's no surprise. It's really not surprising to me. A lot of the things that has happened in the past is just recurring, So yeah, it's not a big surprise.
How are you feeling about that game? Because I know we're spoken about this fixture, not this particular fixture, but the whole Jamaica versus USA, USA versus Jamaica over the years. And this has always been a fixture that just has a lot of anticipation just because of the rivalry and the history behind both nations.
Yeah, the last time I saw Jamaica play the US locally was actually a full stadium, and they actually won that match. I can't remember when that was. What, a couple of years ago?
The friendly, was it the friendly?
No,
Shamar Nicholson.
no, not the friendly. Locally, not abroad.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah, and it was a full stadium, and it was the vibe there was pretty deep. I've gone to the Emirates, and they say Emirates is a library and whatnot, blah blah blah, and I enjoyed it, but that vibe was different. The vibe in the stadium when we scored the goal was different. So Jamaican US rivalry is something that is special. Is always this bragging rights that Jamaicans have when we beat the US. It doesn't happen very often, but when we do, it feels pretty decent. So I'm looking forward to the game. I'm hoping that with all the issues surrounding the team, that we can put on a good show.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. Despite of the many issues, how do you feel about some of these call-ups? Because when I saw that 23-man squad, which was then very quickly changed to 24 before the dropouts of Anthony Grant being added to the list, when you saw Ethan Pinnock name being called out and Liam Moore, who before the announcement were carrying injuries,
Mm.
then they went and played a piece for their club, and now they've been pulled out of the team. What do you make out of that?
All right, so perhaps Liam Moore was a little bit more expected. Liam Moore has been carrying a knock for a couple weeks now, if I remember correctly. Missed a couple games, or one or two games for Reading. But as you said, he played in the last game, so I kind of expected him to be touch and go. Ethan Pinnock now is a different case. Now Brentford is in the English Premier League now. Um, and they're doing very well. And Ethan is one of their better players, one of their best players. If I'm not mistaken, he's probably the best defender in that back three. Um, so I kind of expected Brentford to say, "No, we're not going to risk Ethan traveling these distances and all of that." The US and the Canada games are very taxing games. And I'm sure Topper would have wanted to play Ethan in at least one or two, or both of those games. So I'm not surprised that Brentford kind of, said, "Nah, let's come back, let's stay home and recover."
How do you feel about that, Doc, as a patriot? Because I don't know about you, but I'm not putting this down to the players. Based off the history, I know you've been following Jamaica since you was in a nappy. So you know Jamaica like the back of your hand, right? So we know the games that these English club play when it comes to our player call up. You only have to look to someone like Marcus Gale and he'll tell you these clubs
Yeah,
do play games. Joel Grant will tell you the same. How do you feel when you hear that, players like Ethan Pinnock and Liam Moore as well have been pulled out of their squad? Would the same be done if they were called up to the England national side? Because you've seen with players like Marcus Rashford, even when he's on one leg, he's still going to link
yeah,
up with the Three Lions.
yeah. It's a bit of a weird one. I mean, we can't really compare the England national or the European teams with our Western Hemisphere, and the simple reason for that is the distance traveled might be a little different. The ease of traveling might be a little different, and just throwing all this COVID thing, it becomes a little bit more complex. But sometimes, I mean, you don't want to call the players' commitment into question, and we try not to do that because they're professionals. This is what they do, you know. But it's kind of something that you expect the clubs to do, protecting their assets, trying not to step on any toes, trying not to cross any lines. But the JFF has pretty much caused this on themselves with how we handle, fixtures, with how we've been handling the players, watching the contract negotiation, contract situation play out, over such an extended period of time, watching the players haggling back and forth with the JFF. So I'm not surprised that the clubs want to say no. I'm not going to subject my asset, my player to that. So it's sad, but it's just a reality of things, and we just have to work around and keep it moving.
It's an interesting one because obviously we're in a pandemic, so that simply means that it's affecting the entire globe. So you can go to Jamaica and not catch COVID.
Yeah,
In the same breath, you can go and link up with a team in Europe like your France or your Germany or even your England and come back home with a positive COVID test. Do you want to see our players be a little more forceful, like for example, a Martinez who says to his club that no, I want to go and play for Argentina despite of your initial requests.
yeah. No, listen, I totally agree with that. If you're committed to the cause and you're committed to the cause, and on the flip side of that, you might say, yeah, it's my livelihood. It's it's what I do to make a living. But this is football. This is World Cup football we're talking about, right? And there's no greater joy than representing your country on the biggest stage in world football. And if you don't want to do that, then there's nothing I can do or say that might, change your mind. It's sad, but what can I say? you know,
We're in such a pickle. It's just ridiculous the situation that we're in at the moment. We're looking depleted, and that's no disrespect to the current crop of players who are
yeah,
in training at the moment. Now when you look at the midfield area. We've always had an issue in midfield,
Mhm.
being that we were light going into a crucial game against the USA, like I said, on their home soil. Would you have called up Big Heck, or are you one of the fans that are saying, you know what, he's just not good enough?
Michael Hector. So he divides up. He's almost like Granite Jack and
Uh,
Arsenal.
yes.
He divides opinion. But the one thing about Michael Hector, ever since he's come into the national program, is that he's committed. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of Jamaican fans don't like his style, and he's not very pleasing on the eye, but he's very committed and he gives his all when he's on the pitch. Sometimes but such is life. Remember, he used. I don't want to say he used to be. He is a centre back. He's a centre half. He was never a midfielder. I think we are the only team that plays him in the midfield. Ever since Winfred Schaefer came in, he's played centre back midfield, but Top has, for whatever reason, persisted with him being in midfield. But given the circumstances surrounding Pinnock and Liam Moore, perhaps a late call up for Michael Hector would have been important, because we're really light in the middle of the central defense.
Absolutely spot on. And since you've touched on centre back, I think it's only right to touch on the recall of Toppy. How
Uh,
excited are you with that recall?
yeah, this kid, he's been through a little bit of a tough period. He broke onto the scene when he was a youngster, went went to the US, didn't quite work out very well for him, but he came back home to his roots. Playing with Cavalier now, and has gone on to win the National Premier League with Cavalier. So, and he's played an instrumental role in that whole development. So I'm happy for the kid. I'm happy for the guy. Um, he's a very tall fellow, very lanky, but he's a very good player. Whether he makes a step up to the international level is another case, but you can never know until you put him on the pitch to play. But he'll do well. He'll provide adequate coverage. He's kind of the same um profile as Ethan. Obviously Ethan is a way better player. No offense to Jamal, but
Experience does that to
yeah,
you,
but
doesn't
yeah,
it?
experience does that too. But Ethan has been playing with Brentford for how long?
Yeah.
But two players only had a handful of international experience, a handful of club football. So it's important. But let's see how he does if he gets a chance to do his stuff.
Now, look, Doc, it just might be a case where I've been very fortunate every time I've watched Toppy, but he always has seemed to found the back of the net. Is that me being extremely lucky, or
That
is he a goal scoring centre back? And if he is that goal scoring centre back, because he is a unit,
yeah,
surely that's a fantastic advantage for us.
absolutely. He, as he said, he's a unit. I think he's like 6'8" or above 6 foot 6 or something like that. So he's a threat in the opposition area from set pieces. Um, as you said, maybe it's just your luck. Perhaps he needs to play and you watch the game for him to score against the US and give us a victory. So let's hope for that to happen.
And since we're talking about recall, I think it's only right that we touch on Jadine White as well. He's
Yeah,
had a fantastic season in the Jamaican National Premier League. Also voted the goalkeeper of the tournament, and now he's been brought back into the national side. How pleased are you for him?
yeah. So initially when the 23 came out, I saw Dylan, not Dylan, what's his name, Dennis Taylor, um, and I thought, why not Jadine? He's been there or thereabout with Cavalier. He's played consistently with Cavalier. So I'm not surprised that he's now given a nod, and I think he deserves it. He's a kid that, he has ways to go, but he's on the right track in my opinion. And once he gets the opportunity, I'm just hoping that he can grab it and run, because a lot of goalkeepers from Jamaica hasn't had the opportunities that they want, but the ones that have taken it, and that's important. And we have some very good goalkeepers in Jamaica, in my opinion. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's backtrack a little bit because we were touching on players who have been pulled out of the squad. The latest player to be pulled out of that squad is West Ham United's star man, Michail Antonio. We know what's been said in terms of the reasons behind Michail's omission. Paraphrasing is to do with logistical reasons such as traveling and so on.
a group of friends and I were having discussions about Michael from the first game, and after the loss, we were like, yeah, Michael is not gonna come back, you know. And I think we've had this discussion before about commitments of players and whatnot. Not calling Michael's commitment into question, but we've
Just
touched on
generally.
just generally. It's it's disappointing, you know. We would have known about this fixture, the upcoming fixtures, not just this one coming, but the upcoming fixtures for quite some time. Whether it be something that the JFF did or did not do, or is just West Ham saying no, I can't, I won't risk Mikel, or is it that Mikel just said no, I won't risk myself, based on what happened in the past? Because there are some controversies around the team around that time of the Panama game, which haven't really come up, but you see the whispers, and you've seen the omissions from the team based on that Panama game, and some of the things that Tapa has said since then kind of makes you want to question whether or not this is related to something about that game, or is it just come down to all the reasons that were given from the club and from the
Yeah,
team.
there's definitely plenty going on behind the scenes. Just like you said, whisper here and whisper there. So there's definitely something going on behind the scenes, or a couple of things going on behind the scenes, because it seems to be the federation and now the clubs are all, cutting off each other's noses to spite our faces. So we're definitely at the back end of something quite bitter at the moment.
Something is not really adding up to me. As I said, the fixtures would have been published for quite some time, would have had enough time. Mikel and the club would have had enough time to see what traveling would be required for him to represent the country. After so long, he came to Jamaica. I don't think he had the best games. So from a professional standpoint, perhaps Mickey will be saying to himself, yeah, I need to prove myself a little bit more on the pitch for Jamaica, having committed myself to it. But this is, yeah, there's a little thing in my mind that that's ringing. That's not quite adding up. But who am I? you know. Again, I don't want to question Mikel's commitment, but all the controversy that surround the Panama game, some players getting taken off at halftime, Ravel not being included in the squad, the comments made by Tapa about Ravel recently, it kind of makes me want to wonder, want to think if something actually went on, with that. As I said, he didn't have the best game. Mikel, that is, didn't have the best game against Panama, and I'm sure he want to prove himself to the Jamaican people. We've waited so long to see Mikel don Jamaican colors. Perhaps he was waiting on the call up from England, but we've waited so long to see Mikel and a lot of us were excited. Personally, I was disappointed with his performance, but it is football. I think the whole team just didn't perform very well on the day. So it kind of leaves a bitter taste in the mouth that he's not going to be back, especially for this fixture, the USA fixture. But like I said, it is what it is.
For the time being, it's exactly that. How you faring the opponents? How do you think this game? Where do you think I should say? Where do you think this game will be won and lost?
Wow. So I've looked on a couple of the stats from the previous three games that the US played, and surprisingly, they've given a possession in the first two games, and they had a lion's share against Canada. So I'm expecting the battle to be in the midfield. If we can stop that supply line to their forwards, their wide players, I think we can either get a point out of this game or walk away with a win. And the reason why I said that is that USA, they have very good players, but they're not very experienced at the international level. It's still a very young squad. I think the coach has done a pretty decent job in terms of recruiting the younger players and kind of rotating with the more experienced one. But they're still a very young squad. And I think the Jamaican team is fairly experienced. We have some really good players in the midfield. So I think that's where we should aim to stop their play and maybe try to break their lines with Tyreek maybe, if he's on top of his game, because he's another one. He's just hot and cold. But yeah, that's where I expect the game to be played.
I think he's probably hot and cold because you ended on Tarek McGee there. He's probably hot and cold because he's not getting that string of games
Yeah, at the club
from
level.
us, isn't it? So hopefully we do see Tarek McGee involved in the next three set of games for us because, like he said, he is that player to pull the strings for us, that little magician in the center of the park. What's your prediction for the game? How do you see this one panning out?
I hope for a win. If not, we should settle for a draw at the very least. Given the whole circumstances surrounding the team at the moment, I think a draw would make a big difference for us. If we can sneak a win, if we can have Shamar, chest a ball in the back of the net or something, just to sneak a win and get that 3 points. But we really need those 3 points. But if we can get the point, I think we should take it and run with it.
I absolutely agree with you on that. I know it will definitely not end well with them because they also drew against Canada.
Yeah.
So I know they're gonna want to chalk us off their list. So hopefully that won't happen. I'm going to back you on that with what you've said, particularly around Tarek McGee. Hopefully, he's given the license to pull the strings in the middle of that midfield. Because I think if he's able to do that, then we might just be able to get a nice little point from this game. Doc, you know how it goes. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. I know we've had to cut this one short because, like I said, you're on your way home. You're in your driveway, so I have to let you go and see the wife and the beautiful kid as well. But you know how it goes, Doc. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. And again, thank you for blessing me with your time.
Always a pleasure, Crystal. Anytime. I'm always happy to talk football. So whether it be Arsenal or Jamaica. But yeah, I must commend you on the work you've been doing with Tallawah. I remember the time when you pitched it to me and we had a discussion about it, and I didn't think it would come this far this quickly, but you certainly pulled it off. So keep up the good work, Crystal. It's been good.
I will do, Doc. Thank you. I always like make references to my conversation because I always said, when I was at uni, I'll speak to my friends, and obviously you're part of that circle. And I'll be like, guys, this is what I want to do. And you was one of the people behind the scenes saying, yes, we need a platform like that. So thank you so much for your support over the years. Many of our conversations obviously have been off the record, and I've enjoyed every last moment of them. So thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, man, no problem. No problem. Anytime.
Thank you, Doc. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, Crystal, you too.
Take care.